Hey guys, welcome to Midwest Whitetail. My name's Rodney Haley, and this is my son Brooks. Davis is also hunting with us this year, and he's at Starkville at Mississippi State, still finishing up school. We are really excited about being a part of the Heartland series this year. We hunt in Illinois, and we've got about 800 acres that we hunt that we really love. Two different farms that kind of adjoin each other to give us a continuous 800 acres. But the first farm is about 360 acres, mainly made up of CRP and timber. And within that 360 acres, we've got about 18 acres of green fields we've put in. Fields. Most of our fields are bow plots, half an acre to 3/4 of an acre, and we have planted all of those in our Big and Beastie or our wild game buffet. The other farm we have is a 440 acre farm, which is completely different, and that's what kind of makes it neat. That farm is an ag farm, and it's got about 250 acres of timber, and the rest is in ag, big timber. And over there we've got about 14 to 15 fields, and we've done the same thing. We've planted those fields in Big and Beastie this year by Frigid Forge, and also the wild game buffet. So we've got a lot of food over there. Excited about those two farms. Really excited about the deer that we hope that food will bring along. So
yeah. So from a hit list standpoint for this season, it's a little bit of a fresh start for us. Last year we had a lot of familiar faces running around. One in particular, Roy Hobbs Jr. Was a deer that Davis hunted for 3 or 4 years. 3 years really hard. He actually hit the deer twice throughout that journey, and just had a ton of crazy stories with that deer. That deer actually ended up getting taken by our neighbor last year, so congratulations to him. He's just such a great deer. You know, from a hit list standpoint, we have a couple deer running around still that we've seen in the past. One of them we've named Southpaw. He's a 9-point that we named Southpaw because his G4 is on his left side. And the other deer is a pretty similar looking deer. They both have wider frames to them. They're both 9 points. This one we've named Sunshine. So can't believe that it's already less than a month from the season starting. We're just so excited. Yeah. It's been a long off season. It's been a lot of fun, but we're ready for it to get here.
Yeah, it's
so
fun.
yeah. So thank y'all for watching Midwest Whitetail, and we'll see y'all next time.
It's September 14th, and Thad and I finally got out here on my farm today. As you see behind me, I got a horizontal rubbing post that we're going to be freshening up, and then we're going to go back up on top of this food plot. I got a stand on the south side of this property here, and for some reason the Big and Beastie didn't take in that area, so we're going to come back through, rip the ground up with the harrow, and go ahead and we're going to put in autumn quick plot. And we've been getting a lot of rain here in the recent weeks, so hopefully the moisture that's in the ground and the moisture that will continue to get moisture in this autumn quick plot will grow. But we're going to go on up to the top of the food plot here, get the harrow out, and go ahead and start turning over the soil a little bit, and then put out this autumn quick plot. And with it being this late in the game, hopefully we get enough foliage to come up from it. But right now I got some rye and Big and Beastie throughout this plot, but I was just trying to get some more closer to the stand than what came up out of that Big and Beastie. So we're just going to try to do that portion of the plot, and keep your fingers crossed that the autumn quick plot comes up in front of the stands and it attracts the deer in early here in October.
Welcome back to Midwest Whitetail at Heartland Show. It is September 14th, and I got little man Cooper down here and Kaleb down at my main farm. Today we're going to get the cutty links set up. I'm really excited about this year setting these up because this farm runs about right at 2 miles from one end to the other, and with this cutty link system I'm going to be able to have everything spread all the way down to the other side of the farm and check it at this one camera right next to the cabin, which I'm really excited about. So the intrusion is going to be way less this year, and I think that's what might help me kill the buck that I'm going to be after, which is beams. He, like I've talked about in the past, he shows up around October, end of September, so I've talked a little bit about it. There's 2 mature bucks down here. There's a 5.5-year-old and then a 4-year-old that hasn't done much that I'm hoping to get my nephew Donovan on. So with little intrusion and hopefully, you know, some big bucks hanging out down here and being a little bit more daylight this year, we'll be able to have some more success, and ultimately, hopefully I'm able to kill beams this year. So come along, we're gonna go ahead and get these set up, and then we're also gonna show you one more thing we've been doing with scrape trees this year.
Oh, I know.
Here we are, we're getting ready to put the 5th camera in here. Right now we're actually standing in a big pinch, and Kaleb and I are trying something new this year. We've always heard of scrape trees on the edges of the fields, and we know that works, so we decided to incorporate that into a river bottom kind of little pinch funnel. We call them like scrape plots, but I mean basically it's just a scrape tree in the middle of a big overgrown river bottom piece through the funnel, and just gonna give them one more reason to stop in this location. So we're gonna go ahead and get that set up in the camera and then move on to the next one.
Realtree's Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Cuddyback, Drake Non-Typical, Easton Arrows, Frigid Forage, Fuse, Grizzly Coolers, Hoyt, and Realtree.
Hi, welcome to Midwest Whitetail, the Heartland show. It is Friday the 13th, and of all the days to pick to be working on tree stands, you know, Nolan and I picked a full moon on Friday the 13th, you know, here in September. You know, we're only a few weeks out season start here in Iowa, and you know, we're just kind of out working on, you know, some of these trails leading into some of our stands, and then also trimming up those shooting lanes, just kind of that yearly work that needs to go in, checking all the straps and doing that kind of that yearly work that you have to do on each stand location. But one of the things I wanted to do today was give everyone an update on a really fun project that I did a few years ago on this same property. Just up the hill to my left is actually a tree stand location I call the Twig. And for several years, you know, we accessed that stand from a certain location on the creek, but we kept having issues where the deer were actually picking up our ground scent, you know. And so one of the ideas that I had was I actually fell a dead tree across the creek farther down to the south, and we used that to span the creek even when the water was high, and then that kind of allowed us to kind of, you know, go around where the deer were actually accessing, you know, a lot of this area, and it worked really well. Unfortunately, you know, we've had a lot of flooding here in southeast Iowa, and I'm sitting on, you know, kind of bits and pieces of what's left of my bridge. You know, about a month ago I walked farther south down the creek and found a few more, you know, pieces of my bridge, and you know, I kind of knew when I put it together that it wasn't going to stand the test of time, but you know, it did allow me to access that stand, you know, for a couple seasons. So it was definitely sweat equity that was, you know, definitely worth doing. You know, in the coming weeks leading up to season, you know, we're going to continue to check those trail cameras and kind of continue to put together that hit list. You know, I'm really looking forward to checking these cameras this weekend, because a buck I called Vader, you know, a buck I called, you know, I had several encounters with last year, but just was not able to seal the deal. He showed up really late last year, right before season started, and you know, I'm really hoping to pick him up again. And then that buck I had several encounters with, Rusty. I haven't picked him up on cameras yet, but you know, I'm still optimistic that it's going to happen before season starts.
Today is September 14th. It's Saturday here, a little bit afternoon, and we just finished up over at Brad's farm doing a little food plot and a rub post, and decided to, well, I had him, that we'd go ahead and set up the redneck bell blind that I'm going to hunt, use over this food plot that I planted. Oh, it's probably been in August there, but I put autumn quick plot down here in this area, and the farmer also drilled in some oats. So it's a little mixture of frigid forage, autumn quick plot, and some oats, and actually it's come up really good, along with his oats and the frigid forage, as Brad will pan here at some point. You can see where the turnips, the peas, and such is coming up pretty good in it. So as everybody's heard, the EHD's kind of hit the area here in Monroe County, and on one of the farms that I actually hunt, I did find a buck there a couple weeks ago, and so we're just not sure what's around yet, what's been infected. So hopefully I'll have a camera pole and hoping that we find the white 8 on that card pole. That's our hopes. But that's going to put a wrap on this project for today, and we'll see you next time on Midwest Whitetail to Heartland.
Today Collins and I are just doing a little last-minute prep on a few of my farms. Earlier today we stopped at the farm that I call the Prospect Farm, and last year I hunted a little bit during the rut, and the reason I call it the Prospect Farm is there's a bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds. Filmed a lot of really nice deer, ended up passing a couple of really nice 4-year-olds that I'm hoping to get pictures of this year. So far this year, Collins and I got a new thing going where we're making these things called scrape plots, and there's a lot of CRP in this farm, and we stuck a scrape tree right in the middle of the CRP, right next to the tree that I hunt, and opened up a scrape and just put a camera up on it today. Did a little work over there and checked a couple cameras, and we got a 10-point that's about 4 or 5. Not really setting our sights on it, but something maybe during youth season here in the next week we might try and get on top of. But heading over to my home farm, there's a really nice deer in there. I got pictures of him last year, and I call them talons. Beautiful mainframe 9 or 10, I can't remember, but just got some funky brows, and he showed up this year. He's probably 6-7-year-old deer now, and definitely love to shoot that deer. Definitely hoping to see him in late season. The deer that I am setting my sights on is on a whole different farm. It's a farm that I call the I-80 farm, and it's a deer that I call Gimpy. Last year, this deer seemed to get the best of me. We did have him at about 25 yards during the night. Couldn't film it, but it seemed every night that we sat on that farm, every morning too, we encountered that deer. It's just a really pretty deer. The reason I call him Gimpy is because the front left leg, he's got a real big swelled up kneecap or something going on there. Josh and I last week went in there and checked cameras, and we ended up seeing a deer that I call Captain Hook. He's got some hooks for brow tines, and he's out of velvet now. But we saw a scrape opened up right next to the camera, so we elected to put a cutty link over on that scrape, and Collins and I checked it today, and what do you know, there's a new buck on it, and it's definitely an older deer. It's a deer that I'd love to shoot. I'm gonna wait until Gimpy shows up on camera if he does, but I may be hunting that deer come this fall. But after that, we came over to one of my favorite farms. It's a new farm that Collins and I will both be hunting this year. Collins and I came in here, it was probably around August 1st, and we opened up this entire field behind me, and we ended up planting some frigid forage. We came in, smoked it with some Roundup, and ended up burning it as well, and it just made up for a nice seed bed and whatnot. Planted some frigid forage in here, and it's coming up really pretty. Put a camera right over a scrape tree on the side of the plot, right next to the tree that we're going to be hunting in. What do you know, there's 3 or 4 new bucks on it. There's a couple nice bucks on this farm so far. A lot of what I would call late season bucks, just older deer that I'm not really looking to target right now. But come late season, I'd love to wrap my tag on any of these bucks that are showing up here. But that's just a little bit of what's going on so far this year. It's going to be a really exciting year. Collins and I have a lot of really nice deer on camera so far. We've got a lot of history with the 2 deer that we're going to be hunting, Gimpy and Beams. But I'm looking forward to the season starting here on October 1st. Youth season's coming up next week, so Collins and I are looking forward to getting kids out, and it's going to be an exciting season, guys. I'm looking forward to you guys following along. So thank you for watching this week's episode of Midwest Whitetail, and I hope to see you back next time.